In the field of civil engineering outsourcing, one of the most costly yet entirely avoidable mistakes does not lie in design, but in signing contracts without a clear data exit strategy. When a company outsources, it hands over critical digital assets to the partner. Retrieving this data afterward can become complicated, expensive, and sometimes nearly impossible. This is why data governance must be placed at the very center of every outsourcing agreement. The true value of a project is not only found in the physical structures that are built, but in the digital information that defines the entire project. If contracts fail to protect this asset, ownership and control may be limited. Imagine a familiar scenario. A business partners with an experienced outsourcing firm. The project progresses smoothly, communication flows efficiently, and everything seems effective. Yet all drawings, models, and analytical data remain within the partner's system, stored on private servers in formats determined by the provider. At that point, the client has no direct path to reuse or extract data if changes arise. When a company's strategy shifts, such as adding a second supplier or bringing part of the work back in-house, problems emerge. The only solution to avoid such situations is to build freedom into the contract from the outset. Just as construction cannot stand without steel reinforcement in concrete, outsourcing in civil engineering cannot be sustainable without agreements that guarantee long-term data accessibility and portability. At the heart of this solution is establishing a data repository controlled by the client. Platforms such as Autodesk Construction Cloud serve as clear examples, and AXA Engineers consistently integrates them alongside Civil 3D in real-world workflows. Whether using private servers or comparable collaboration platforms, what matters is that the client retains top-level administrative rights to determine access and duration. Translating this principle into contractual language is not as complex as it may seem. What is required is clarity during procurement. A clause can specify that all project data must be synchronized in parallel into the client's repository, with both native and interoperable formats updated daily and validated at critical milestones. This ensures control without turning collaboration into conflict. Equally important is the definition of data standards. For CAD, it is essential to specify DWG or DXF files with associated Civil 3D data. For BIM, requirements should include both native Revit models and compatible formats agreed upon at the project's outset. These requirements must be written into the scope of work so providers acknowledge them, ensuring transparency during vendor selection. Many public sector organizations, including international agencies, recommend prioritizing open standards to reduce vendor lock-in risks. This direction aligns with long-term flexibility and project resilience. Another element that must be addressed in contracts is knowledge transfer. Beyond data itself, this includes as-built records, model documentation, and training sessions to ensure internal teams fully understand how to manage project information. This is not about creating conflict, but about building professionalism. AXA Engineers has repeatedly demonstrated this approach in practical projects, where detailed BIM as-built models have greatly supported long-term operation and maintenance. When agreements are structured correctly from the beginning, handover stops being a tense negotiation and becomes a seamless part of the project lifecycle. Continuity is then ensured not by goodwill or additional fees, but by a managed and predictable framework. The most important lesson to draw is that control in outsourcing does not rest on a particular tool or platform, but on who owns and governs the project's data. When that control is preserved, companies operate on their own terms instead of being entirely dependent on external partners. AXA Engineers emphasizes that safeguarding data is not merely a technical concern, but a foundation for maintaining autonomy, flexibility, and long-term value in every civil engineering project.